On this episode of Paint Society, we're going to get our panels ready for paint, talk about the fundamentals of painting our fiberglass fenders, lay a beautiful high gloss finish on our hood and our trunk, and do some custom work to our front bumper cover. It's going to be a good one. You're not going to want to miss it.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. Today is paint day, so let's get this all blown out. Okay, so the first thing before we go ahead and move all these parts into the booth is I'm going to clean them. I'm going to use straight up degreaser. It's what I use. It's what pulls all the contaminants off, and then we're going to further clean them once they hit the booth. So I just got a maroon scrub pad right here. I got my degreaser. I'll go ahead and spray it on. I'll scuff it up. Now these parts, remember, are already been sanded with 400 grit, so they're ready for paint. It's just a final. Then I got a low power pressure cleaner just to kind of get everything off and clean up my rubbers on the actual stand so I don't have any overspray flaking. Did you see how I pulled these in the booth? I put one over here and one on this side. See, we have air coming in from the top and then exiting through those exhausts. Let's say I put this fender over here. Now, air is traveling from up top, once again, across the panels. So all of the overspray from the sealer, base, and clear is just hammering that fender over there. That fender is not going to be as smooth as this fender that is initially getting the paint for the first time. So we're going to use our booth knowledge to place our parts and specific parts of the booth to gain the cleanest job possible. So let's talk a little bit about the cleaning process. I absolutely hate contamination, and that's why from the first point when I got these parts, they were all thoroughly washed with degreaser. After they were sanded, degreaser once again, and now we're ready for paint, and we're going to start off with our water-based cleaner. Remember, water-based cleaners are going to take away your oils from your fingers, okay? Solvent-based cleaners will not do that. They'll take away oils from like motor oil, grease, that type of thing. There's two different types of contaminants, and we need two different types of cleaners to remove those contaminants. The way that we're going to do it is we're going to saturate, once again, the whole entire panel. You guys need to make it as wet as you can. It should look like there are no dry spots. So what this is doing is it's bringing contaminants to the surface. We wipe in one direction. You'll still be pulling off red residue. Now these are prep towels. They're not the ones that you get from Walmart. The shop towels, those have lint. Now with our solvent base, and you want to make sure you're always using a new rag every time. Then a clean tack cloth to remove any lint before a sealer. Did you notice when I'm wiping in one direction? Same thing when I'm painting. Everything I do on this actual fender from here on out is the same direction. Get yourself into a rhythm. Now let's take a second, let's talk about primer and sealer. A lot of you are still confused. Do I have to seal? Do I have to prime? Do I have to sand my primer? Well, we put this primer on here, it is red. Your primer will be gray. And when we put this primer on here, that's going to help us sand because it builds mils. About to 1.5, maybe 2.0 mils. A higher surfacer primer will be around 2.0 to 2.5 mils. So once we put that primer on there, we're able to sand it smooth because that primer goes on there bumpy. And we want it to build just a little bit so it can fill in any fine 320 sanding scratch or it can kind of bridge over an area that had just a little body work. Now we are to the point where it's been sanded, and here we have different breakthroughs in the paint because we've sanded it nice and smooth. Well, that's when our sealer comes into play. Our sealer is a thinned out primer that does not get sanded. See, sealer helps with your coverage. You put down a sealer value shade that is similar to the actual color itself, and that's going to help your base cover better. It's also going to help with adhesion, and it's going to bridge any of these little gaps that might be sand-throughs to the layer underneath. Just as long as it's sanded down smooth with about 320, that sealer will go right over it. So let's go ahead and mix up that sealer now. Let's make this as easy as possible to understand. This is our red color build. Now this is our system. This is what makes our system unique. You guys are just going to either have primer or sealer. It's the same thing. This is just a better system for it. Now let's say we want to do the primer in the system. Well, when we use our computer, it's going to tell us to use these two additives. That is surfacer primer and surfacer activator. That means primer. Okay? Let's say we want to use it with a sealer. All it's going to do is slightly change the mixing ratio, and instead it's going to use a sealer hardener and it's going to use a sealer reducer. That's going to thin it out. This is going to make it thicker for primer. We'll go ahead and we'll click our formula. We'll hit start, and we are ready to go. It's calling for a little white as well. Our sealer hardener slow, and then our sealer reducer. Our PPS top, down, turn. Our cap. Are you seeing the importance of a good sealer? We don't have to worry about any sort of wrinkling. We have a nice even base coverage for our base coat to lie straight on. Now what you want to do once more is you want to tack it in between coats. Make sure there's no debris. It's going to keep a nice smooth finish. So we went ahead and we're still going to use the CC500. It's a solid color. It should handle it with no problem. We have a high solid Autoclear by Sickens. It's a beautiful clear. What we're going to do is we're going to do 2 coats, and we're going to spray it with the WS400. And we're going to be around 33 PSI. And then we're just going to put on 2 beautiful coats. We'll use that tack rag, and we're following that same painting motion, side to side. See here, guys, see how it's a little bit textured there? I don't care. What you need to make sure you do is don't make it look beautiful on the first coat. Once that dries, that second coat will lay in there much, much smoother and nicer because it's got so much stickiness to kind of grab it. You don't want to go all out on that first coat, otherwise it's going to be like waterfalls, and that's never a good thing. All right, so we got our two bumpers ready. We're shaking up our sealer now. That does not look like the red we've been using. We know that. Ran out of the red toner for our color build, so we kind of put together a couple colors that kind of get us in that family, sort of, kind of. The color doesn't matter. We might just need to add one more coat of base to make it cover, but we'll be good to go. So let's spray some sealer, some base, some clear. Let's get back into it.
finished watching the video with you guys and it looks amazing. I know you guys want to see the ending and how they look, so stay tuned. Hey guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it, it's just paint. Let's check out those parts. And make sure you tune in for our next episode when we bring the S2000 into the paint booth, wipe it down, get it into sealer, and then give it a high gloss paint job. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you subscribe so you catch the episode.